I stopped Chu Feng and gave the gatekeeper a friendly smile. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to celebrate the magic of the auction. Please make some room for the special auction treasure. The gatekeeper looked as if he'd just heard the biggest joke. You dare call your scrap metal on your old cart a magic treasure? Do you think I'm blind? Get out of here quickly, otherwise, I'll break your lackeys. At that moment, an elderly man dressed in a splendid robe walked out of the treasure pavilion, frowning as he scolded. The noisy box-style gatekeepers quickly put on a flattering smile. Shopkeeper Li and these beggars. It is not that one must remember the magic of the beating technique, bringing a pile of broken farm tools to cause trouble. I'm driving them away. Manager Li glanced at us casually. His gaze lingered on Lung Qingqiu for a moment, as if he looked familiar, but without thinking much of it, he impatiently waved his hand. Kick out, get lost. Don't disturb the sound of our Qianbao pavilion, I sighed. Cultivators nowadays really have no insight or swordplay. Mu Shui casually picked up a kitchen knife to open the shopkeeper's eyes. Mu Shui expressionlessly picked it up from the cart. The chipped kitchen knife casually tossed onto a nearby event stone meant to test the power of a magical artifact. It was made from 10,000-year-old basalt. He threw it over the stone, which was made from 10,000-year-old basalt and was a sword stone. Even if Yuan Ningqi embellished his power with a single strike, all they could do was leave a white-clad notched kitchen knife rolling slowly in the air on top. It doesn't seem to have any lethality at all. Shopkeeper Li sneered. This is simply ridiculous. If only this scrap metal could leave a mark on the sword and stone, I will take this stone and eat it. Before he could finish, there was a faint fut sound. It's just like cutting tofu. That broken kitchen knife not only failed to bounce off, instead, it merged directly into the sword stone. Not even a knife handle was shown. The entire venue fell into a deathly silence. The guard's jaw slammed directly against the top of his foot. Manager Li's cloudy old eyes instantly widened wider than a bull's eye. His eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. He staggered as he walked to the sword stone. He touched the smooth, mirror-like incision with his hand, and felt an extremely restrained feeling. Yet the terrifying sword of destruction cut in an instant, pressing straight at his soul. He was so frightened that he thudded and fell to the ground. How could this possibly be so easily sliced through without any force or ripple? One Yin Xuanwu cliff. This is the great blade in simplicity. This is peerless immortal energy. Manager Li scrambled up frantically, like a wolf, lunging at our broken cart double. Our broken cart's hands trembled, holding a hoe stained with dirt, old tears streaming down my face. All the best is the best. Oh heavens, in this old man's lifetime, to see so many quality treasures of immortal energy level. I sat on the edge of the cart, swinging my legs. Manager Li, this lousy stone, do you want to steam it or braise the intestines? I can help you process it for free. Manager Li suddenly realized. He slapped himself without regard for his image. Forgive me, Senior. I was blind and negligent. Senior, hurry up, hurry. Inside, please take place today at Qianbao Pavilion, a once-in-a-century supreme auction. If these magical treasures were used as the grand finale, it would definitely shake the entire cultivation world. Surrounded by Manager Li, we swaggered into the VIP private room on the highest floor of Qianbao Pavilion, where the rooms were lavishly decorated. The table is filled with rare spiritual bones and immortal tea. Lung Qingqiu instinctively stood behind me and massaged my shoulders. Chu Feng and Mu Shui curiously looked around the crowded auction boxes below, which were about to begin. What kind of ground connection techniques were filmed earlier? In our eyes, the 10,000-year spiritual herb is nothing but a single scallion. The apprentices didn't even bother to glance at him. UDHI. But for someone who looks like a big radish, life is very interesting, saying it would be used to stew soup, and it should taste good. Finally, the grand finale arrived. The chief auctioneer is a charming and alluring woman. She announced to the whole audience in a trembling voice. Distinguished guests, the next auction item will overturn your understanding of magical treasures. This is a treasure of fortune capable of suppressing a top-tier sect. As the red cloth was suddenly torn aside, the entire auction hall instantly fell silent, so much so that you could hear a pin drop on the floor. On the display stand stood a pitch-black firewood stick. The hall fell silent for 3 seconds. Then a deafening roar erupted. Is Qianbao Pavilion crazy? Using a firewood stick to fool us useless things. There are plenty in my kitchen. Is it because we look silly and have plenty of money? Facing the doubts and ridicule of the entire audience, the auctioneer was not panicked at all. He carefully put on a pair of specially made silk gloves, gently pick up the firewood stick, walking to the test formation in the center of the hall. Everyone, please keep an eye on this formation, but the supreme defensive array personally set up by the 7 nascent soul experts. He didn't infuse any spiritual power, just like tapping a wooden fish. He gently tapped his face on the formation lightwood with that firewood stick. The staff lightly tapped the formation light screen, cracking with a piercing crack that echoed throughout the arena. Under everyone's shocked gazes, that supreme defensive formation, said to be unbreakable even at the peak of the nascent soul stage, like a fragile piece of glass, instantly covered in spiderweb-like cracks. Then, with a loud bang, it exploded into countless fragments of spiritual light. The laughter in the hall abruptly stopped. Everyone felt like ducks with their necks choked. With his mouth agape, he couldn't make a sound. What kind of monster is this? A magical treasure relies solely on its own material. He shattered the Great Divine Transformation formation. If you inject Lin Lina, the starting price is 1 million. Premium snacks. Each additional bid must not be less than 100,000 yuan. The auctioneer's decisive hammer instantly plunged the hall into a frenzy of bidding. 2 million. 3 million. I offer 5 million. Even if it costs everything, I have to buy it. Listening to the numbers rolling endlessly below, Chu Feng swallowed nervously. Master, did we get rich? I broke this fire poker yesterday. I casually tossed it in the corner early. Knowing it's so valuable, I'll just get a few more. I picked up my teacup, take a sip of calm, Calm down, having never seen the world. Later, I'll take the money and take all the top-grade iron ore in the city for me. In the end, the fire poker was struck by a mysterious masked old man, sold for a sky-high price of 15 million yuan for premium snacks. Not only that, all the farming tools we brought were snapped up and sold out. Zhenbao Pavilion not only confiscated our handling fees, he even gave him the highest level of purple gold black card. We push empty carts loaded to the brim. Meanwhile, Guizhou large intestines bought several truckloads of premium lean meat and rare ingredients in the city. Chufeng cleared out all the top-grade phosphate ores from several major trading houses in the city and walked back to the small town. The sunset stretches our shadows long, everyone chatting and laughing, as if she had just gone to the market to buy some vegetables. Just as we were about to reach the small town, I suddenly stopped, my eyes narrowing slightly. Behind him, Lang Qingqiu sensed something was wrong, nervously grabbed the broom in his hand and came out. Hiding in the trees to feed mosquitoes isn't uncomfortable. I slowly called out toward the pitch-black grove ahead. As soon as I finished speaking, a faint sound came from the woods. Several ragged figures leapt down from the treetops and blocked our planks. Leading the front of the carriage was an old man with a broken arm. His entire body was covered in deep, bone-revealing old scars. Its breath is as faint as bamboo withered in the wind, but those eyes were fixed tightly on Su Yao hiding behind me. Seeing this, Chufeng, he immediately stepped forward. Dark golden lightning flickered faintly on his body. Master, these old beggars looked ill-intentioned, or I can send them away with a single hammer. Lang Qingqiu gripped her broom tightly, always ready to launch an attack. Who would have thought that the old man with the severed arm not only did not resist, instead, with a thud, he knelt on the muddy stones. The few people behind him also knelt down in unison. The old man's lips trembled. Tears hit the dirt on his face, falling in a stream. Little princess, this old servant has finally found you. That one shout, little princess, called us all away. Su Yao poked out half her fluffy little head. Her big eyes were full of confusion. Grandpa, you must have the wrong person. I'm Brother Fan, picked up from the snow, not some princess. The old man kowtowed repeatedly in excitement. His forehead hit the stone, and blood seeped out. Shivering, he pulled out a piece of rag from his chest, wrapping a dull, cracked stone inside it. Little princess, this old servant won't be mistaken. You carry the aura of the bronze official of destiny. Back then, our world was mercilessly destroyed by the upper realms contest of immortals. At a time when immortals ruthlessly destroy nations and families, it was the sovereign and queen who exhausted their last bit of spiritual power, sending you into the void. We old bones fought desperately to break through the encirclement. In this shattered cultivation world, I searched for you for a full 3 years. Hearing this, Su Yao's chubby little frame suddenly burst into a dazzling voice. She stared blankly at the stone in the old man's hand, the tears in his big eyes. The instant breach of the dam is a bond rooted deep in the bloodline, which cannot be deceived. She staggered over, clutching that cold stone tightly. He cried out with a single dig, his heart and soul's aching. Daddy and Mommy, dear Yao Yao, I really want you to eat obediently every day. But why don't you want to? Yao Yao looked at her usual immense strength, a little girl who can lift hundreds of jin of iron needles. At this moment, crying like a helpless kitten, my heart suddenly felt as if it had been pricked by needles. Chufeng clenched his fists tightly, his fists and eyes reddened. Mu Shui turned her head away and silently wiped away her tears. Even Zhu Dachang, that carefree chubby guy, sniffed, the old man weeping uncontrollably. The little princess, the ruler, and the queen didn't want you. This creation soul stone still seals the last fragment of their incomplete soul. As long as they can find the legendary Da Luo immortals, perhaps they can. To find the legendary Great Luo immortal, maybe it could help them regain their senses and catch a glimpse of their beloved daughter, Su Yao. When she heard her parents still had hope, she turned her head in surprise. Holding the stone, running up to me, her small hands gripped the hem of my clothes tightly. With a thud, he knelt down. Fan, please save me. From now on, Dad and Mom, Yao Yao, eat less meat and work more. Yao Yao won't be naughty anymore. Please, Brother Fan. I quickly pulled him into my arms, rubbing his little head with concern. Why should the silly girl be so polite with Brother Fan? Don't even say it's a faint lingering soul. Even if his soul truly shattered, Brother Fan would have to go to the underworld and tear up the Book of Life and Death. My disciple Lin Fan, who dares let him shed tears? I turned to look at Chufeng. Take all the top-grade spiritors you just bought. Let's go home now. No more customers today. The blacksmith shop was about to open an unprecedented event. Da Luo Chufeng was invigorated, and he loudly accepted the order. The few old family retainers looked at each other in confusion. Obviously, he didn't believe an ordinary blacksmith could save someone with only a faint lingering soul, but I couldn't be bothered to explain at all. The group hurried back to the town in grand procession. As soon as they arrived at the blacksmith shop, I'll have Lang Qingqiu shut the door tightly. I hung up a sign saying a no entry for idle people in the blacksmith, and then I left. The mirror-free sign, then I walked to the center of the courtyard, in front of the creation bronze needle. Taking a deep breath, I put away all the kitchenware the system provided. Tonight, only the purest blacksmith apprentices here listen to me. I glanced around at the 4 upright disciples, Chufeng and Mu Shui, with large intestines. Su Yao is going to fight 2 physical bodies today. Not only to reshape the meridians, you still have to withstand the heavenly Tao. Backfire on the intestines, you go make a fire. Use your 9 nether liquid flame to set the furnace temperature to the highest for me. Without my orders, no stopping pig intestines or pounding chests, guaranteed to reassure the technician. Even if I fry all my fat dry today, he definitely wouldn't be any less than chew foam. Your sacrificial thunder body is responsible for tempering the journal. Later, the spirit ore will turn into juice. You shatter all the distractions within me with thunder, ensuring the material is absolutely pure Chu style, gripping the hammer tightly. The battle wings burning in his eyes, disciples obey Chu Feng's command. You use the suggestion of the heavenly blood sword, engraving the giant soul vibration technique on the reconstructed bone. Not a single slash can be missed, or it means your soul is shattered. Mu Shui drew his long sword, his expression extremely grave. Master, rest assured, the sword is here, the person is here. Finally, I looked at Yao, her eyes swollen and red. You are the key to waiting for your physical body to form. You need to infuse your own power of creation and bloodline aura into it. Only then will your parent souls not reject this new body. Su Yao nodded vigorously, wiping away her tears. Fan, I'm ready. At my command, the entire blacksmith shop instantly turned into a massive blast furnace. The pig intestine let out a loud roar, burning heaven, the creation body fully unleashed. The large black pot turned into a stove, and the dark purple 9 nether night fire soared into the sky, illuminating the entire night sky as if it were daytime. I will buy dozens of sacks of top-grade phosphate ore from Qianbao Pavilion. He poured everything into the stove at once. 10,000 years of dark ice and iron in the ninth heaven. Star steel, phoenix blood, gold. These rare treasures, if casually taken out outside, could cause bloodshed and chaos. At this moment, it was like worthless cabbage, melting mercilessly too slowly. I frowned and shook my hand, grabbed the broken palm fan beside him. He flashed fiercely at the stove, and with a thunderous boom, the fire snake darted straight up into the 100 high phosphate mine. Under the terrifying heat, it quickly turned into a puddle, a liquid radiating rainbow light. Essence thunder in, I shouted loudly. Chu Feng's eyes, golden like great sage, leapt toward. The great sage with golden light leapt into the air. Countless dark golden raging streams. Thunder slammed his fist hard into the puddle of liquid essence, crackling loudly. Those impurities were chopped into flying ashes. Only the purest essence of heaven and earth remains. I casually picked up the ancient heaven-slaying sword that hadn't been used for a long time, now a broken iron tong. Picking up that burning primordial mass, the liquid was steadily placed on the creation bronze needle. Then I closed my eyes, clasped my hands. That hammer I used to forge iron. When I opened my eyes again, his entire aura underwent a dramatic transformation. No more plain laziness and carelessness. There was only a supreme majesty that seemed capable of splitting heaven and earth. Watch closely. This is the highest arrogance of forging iron. The furnace of heaven and earth. All things flourish. The hammer in my hand turned into countless afterimages, each strike carrying the rhythm of the great Tao. The crisp sound of hammering echoes through the clouds. The entire town, and even the land spanning thousands of miles, all gently vibrating in rhythm with the forging of the iron. Under my hammering, the mass of colorful liquid gradually split into two balls. She began to sketch the shape of a human skeleton, and Mu Shui seized the moment. Her figure was like a ghost, weaving through the sparks and the heavens like a ghost. The tip of the blood sword of the heavens danced rapidly across the bones. He carved intricate and profound ancient giant soul formation evils. At that moment, suddenly, dark clouds gathered in the sky, and fierce winds blew. A heavenly Tao that could destroy heaven and earth. A thunderous pressure descends against the heavens, changing fate and reshaping the soul. This is the law of heaven and earth, the heavenly Tao that absolutely cannot be allowed. He was furious at an enormous thunder eye, slowly opening in the dark clouds, coldly and mercilessly staring at our small blacksmith shop, squeezing into the path. Enough to decorate Dutching with lacquer, a purple annihilation lightning spell that splits chicken powder into pieces, wildly brewing on the horizon. Those old retainers were so frightened they collapsed. On earth, heaven punishes it. This is divine punishment. We're doomed. Leng Qingxiu's face was also pale, gripping the broom tightly. Chu Feng and Mu Shui. Though afraid, but I still gritted my teeth and held onto the hammer in my hand, not even stopping. In one swoop, he just frowned slightly, seeing that the fire in the furnace was being slightly suppressed by the heavenly Tao. The pig, the large intestine, was sweating profusely from exhaustion, barely able to hold on. I snorted coldly. That big eye in the sky, you came. Coincidentally, my stove just happens to need a bellows puller. Just as the heavenly clan was about to fall, I suddenly grabbed the system with my left hand up into the sky. I grabbed sharply with my left hand toward the sky, the advanced ability to rebound all things within the system. I directly used it in reverse. It has become an irresistible, terrifying suction. That lofty heavenly Tao thunder eye. There was not even a chance to resist. I forcibly pulled her down from the clouds, right? With a squeak, he fell beside the stove. The eye of the heavenly Tao, its entire eyeball was fierce. He wields the mighty heavenly Tao, wielding the life and death of all things, like a giant dog. He was actually caught by a mortal like a chick. Before he could react, I kicked his eyelid. What are you standing there for, blowing me some air? The thunder attribute just fuels the fire. If the fire weakens, I'll turn you into a lump of coal. The eye of heaven's Tao, tears of grievance almost fall, but he could sense the terrifying aura on me, far above him by countless dimensions. A true hero does not suffer losses in the face of his eyes, a dignified embodiment of the heavenly way. He could only puff out his cheeks in humiliation, spat out the burning Z thunder into the stove, helping the pig's large intestine burn the 9 netherworld's blazing fire even fiercer. This scene shattered the worldview of those old retainers. The will of heaven is actually helping a blacksmith with a hand-pulled bellows. Is this a dream? With the addition of heavenly Tao thunder, 2 perfect physical bodies were finally completed. Her body was crystal clear. That body was crystal clear. It radiated an aura even more terrifying than immortals. Yao Yao! Just now, I shouted loudly. Su Yao wiped the sweat from her face. Without hesitation, he bit his fingertips, carrying the essence and blood contained in the bloodline of creation, each dripping on the brows of 2 flesh bodies. Then, as he carefully picked up the piece of creation soul, he drew out the 2 remaining strands of soul inside. The moment the soul touched those 2 bodies, his body, tempered by thunder and sword resolve, was immediately absorbed by the formation. The entire courtyard erupted with dazzling white light. It was as if at that moment he paused, inhaling 1 breath, 3 breaths, when the white light gradually disperses. 2 tall, upright figures, lying quietly on the bronze needle. Immediately after, a faint body appeared, but the steady heartbeat echoed in the courtyard, thumping loudly. The man and woman lying on the bronze needle opened their eyes at the same time. Their eyes were first filled with confusion. Afterwards, Jingming gradually returned. When they saw Su Yao lying beside her, her face covered in snot and crying, tears instantly welled up in her eyes. Although Yaoiro's voice was weak, yet it is filled with endless love. Yao Yao threw herself into the woman's arms. He wept loudly and loudly, offering his mother's father Yao as a token. Crying loudly, mother and father Yao Yao thought they would never see you again. The man also trembled as he reached out his hand, holding the mother and daughter tightly in his arms. The family of 3 broke down in tears. The old retainers were so moved that tears streamed down their faces as they kowtowed repeatedly on the ground. God bless our country. God bless our country. Chu Fengmu Shui and Yu Diechan both silently turned away, secretly wiping away their tears. Even the eye of heavenly Tao, pinned to the ground by me and pulling the bellows, blinked and let a tear of thunder fall from the corner of its eye. I casually tossed the eye of heaven like a ball. Did you throw it back into the sky? If you're done for, go stay somewhere cool. If the Eye of Heaven grants a great pardon, swift, slipping into the clouds faster than a rabbit. The clouds filling the sky instantly dispersed. Sunlight once again poured into the small courtyard of the blacksmith shop. Su Yao's parents, supported by their daughter, walked up to me. They could tell that the blacksmith before them looked like a mortal. In fact, he was an unfathomable, peerless master. The 2 knelt down without hesitation. The great kindness and virtue of the elders, the 2 of us, together with a grass tide and holding a ring, had nothing to repay him. If the elders do not despise it, we are willing to work like oxen and horses in the blacksmith shop. I quickly helped them up. She patted the man's shoulder. Don't kneel to me all the time. Don't keep being a ghost. My blacksmith shop doesn't take in big shots. Since you have lived, just spend good time with Yao Yao. This girl, I've been through this a lot these past 2 years. Su Yao tightly hugged my arm. Fan Ji is the best person in the world. He taught me how to eat, how to forge, and even made me so fat. Listening to Su Yao's childhood innocence, everyone couldn't help but laugh. The tense and sorrowful atmosphere just now was swept away. Instead, it was a warmth of surviving a disaster. Suddenly, the system notification sound exploded in my mind. Congratulations to the host for fully unlocking Xinjie, the eldest disciple. The Lord of Creation in Gongshu's body has fully awakened. Congratulations to the host for completing all disciples and hidden awakening. Congratulations on reaching 100% seal release progress. Ultimate title, Supreme of all worlds. I closed my eyes, feeling the vast, boundless power within him, as vast as the stars and the sea, was fully awakened. At this very moment, all I need to do is gently breathe a breath. He could wipe out the entire cultivation world. As long as I am willing to be in a single thought, can create countless brand new universes. I am finally invincible in the world. The system's flattering voice continued to ring out. Host, honorable guest, you are now invincible across all heavens and worlds. Do you need it? He needed to immediately ascend to the high divine realm. Take control of the universe. I opened my eyes and saw this worn-out thing before me, but it's a small courtyard full of everyday life. Chu Feng was excitedly polishing the newly crafted farming tools. Mu Shui was holding a rag, carefully wiping him. That blood sword of the heavens pig-large sausage was humming a tune in the kitchen, cutting and stomping. Su Yao was happily showing her parents her extremely ugly crocodile leather apron. Lang Qingqiu held a broom. A genuine, serene smile hung on his face, sweeping the fallen leaves in the yard into a small pile. All of this is so ordinary. Yet it is so genuine and warm. I took a deep breath, the air carrying the aroma of food. A bright smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, kept in his heart. He told the system, ascending to the supreme god realm is braised pork with large intestines tasty? Is it interesting to watch your disciples get stronger day by day? Like in the domination universe, just stay obediently in this blacksmith shop. The system seemed a bit speechless, but he could only obediently reply. Dear host, happy blacksmithing. I walked into the middle of the courtyard. I plopped back onto my personal rocking chair. He casually picked up the old palm fan and fanned the intestines. Picked up that tattered palm fan and fanned the intestines. Tonight, have a special meal and show off all your hidden culinary skills. To celebrate the reunion of Yaoiro's family, today, we eat all the enchanting dishes. The kitchen echoes with a loud response from pig intestines. Alright, master, today, I promised everyone would swallow their tongues. Chu Feng leaned in. He asked Master with a grin. Our firewood stick sold for 15 million. Now we're the richest man. Shouldn't we renovate this rundown shop tomorrow? I glared at him. Renovation? What kind of renovation? That's called returning to basics. What do you know? Tomorrow morning, keep swinging the sledgehammer for me. If you miss a punch of dinner, you won't get a share. Chu Feng let out a bitter wail with a bitter face. Congratulations rarely burst out laughing, a clear laugh like silver bells. Echoing in the courtyard, Lang Qingqiu walked over carrying a plate of freshly cut lingua, respectfully placed by my side. Senior, please use it. I picked up a piece of fruit and took a bite. A crisp and sweet life, just this simple, unpretentious, and dull. I was clearly a bandit who could kill the late emperor with a single slap, yet he prefers to be a blacksmith in this shabby blacksmith shop, watching the disciples play and make a fuss in the courtyard, listening to the symphony of pots and pans in the kitchen. I think this is the perfect ending. Looking at me, his eyes bloodshot, tears swirled within Master and his group, their numbers overwhelming. There were also powerful experts at the void refinement stage. My disciple's life is a worn-out life, not worth regretting, but I can't let it drag me down with it. Master and junior sisters, I slapped him on the back of the head. Talk nonsense. Even if my disciple Lin Hao causes a hole in this sky, I'll cover for you. Since enemies have come knocking today, then let's settle this account thoroughly. With the blacksmith I taught you, break their bones inch by inch for me. Chu Feng was stunned. She forced herself to hold back the tears that were about to fall. He bowed heavily to me, and the disciple accepted the order. He picked up the hammer weighing several hundred jin and strode out of the courtyard, alone, facing the midair. The hundreds of fierce demonic chests of those had boundless blood. Looking at the hammer in Chu Feng's hand, a burst of arrogant mockery erupted. Ha ha ha, the remnants of the Chu family. Have you lost your mind and grabbed a broken hammer to find a place for revenge? Come at me, chop him into minced meat. A dozen or so Bloodfiend sect disciples at Pillar Foundation 7 and Golden Core 7 screamed viciously as they dove down. The blood-red magical treasures in his hand swept toward Chu Feng like a swept force across the sky. Chu Feng didn't retreat. Instead, his gaze was as cold as a blade. His gaze was as cold as a blade of annihilation, his thunder body fully unleashed. Purple lightning coiled around him and that iron hammer. His leg suddenly exerted force, shooting up like a cannonball. First, with a thunderous boom like hammer breaking iron, the three demonic cultivators at the very front. He didn't even have time to scream before being destroyed by this. The thunderous hammer smashed it into blood. Even his soul was shattered by the purple lightning. This isn't forging iron. It's clearly the soul shattered by the demonic cultivators who knocked on the fate behind him. Just as he was about to retreat, Chu Feng, yet he never lets them break the hammer dance in their hand so tightly that it can't be opened. With every strike, there was always a rain of blood that fell from Mo Xiao, filling the sky, scattered across the town streets. Chu Feng was like a god of slaughter bathed in thunder. This scene left Shui Wuya utterly stunned. When this kid ran away back then, clearly, he's just a loser who hasn't even gained fame. It's only been a few months. How could he possibly possess such terrifying power? A group of useless elders roared angrily, as if the blood fiend was a heavy blow. The four elders at the vocal tone stage immediately spread out around Chu Feng, waving the soul summoning banner. Countless fierce ghosts surged out from the banner, transforming into a massive blood-red formation, imprisoning Chu. From the flipping point, it surged forth, transforming into a massive blood-red hue. The prison trapped the Chu wind within. Blood-red flames burned madly in the prison. If you want to refine Chu Feng, the flames were highly corrosive. Even the space was burned and twisted. Chu Feng felt a sharp pain radiating from his skin. He knew his current cultivation couldn't withstand the formation of Fu Yuan Yin Qi, but he remained calm at all. He skillfully threw the hammer onto the ground. With a swish, he squatted midair, headbutting with both hands. He shouted at the top of his lungs, "I am a little mushroom." With a buzzing sound, strange ripples spread out, the blood-red flames and fierce ghosts that had been frantically lunging at Chu Feng. It's as if you've gone blind. She actually snuggled right up close to his body and walked around him. Then he slammed hard into the formation opposite. The four elders on the light tree felt a tightness in their chests. The attack he unleashed actually reflected back all over himself, and it seems even more powerful. What is this? The ghostly spell elders screamed in terror. He desperately tried to withdraw his power, but it was already too late. The inside of the formation was a complete mess. Chu Feng squatted right in the middle, calm as a true devil. Meanwhile, those fierce ghosts and flames ran wildly around the area. In the end, the formation could not withstand the violent force within. Unable to withstand the internal violent force, it exploded with a roar. For Yuan, Elder Ying spat blood widely, falling from midair like a kite with a broken string. Chu Feng took the opportunity to stand up, catching the falling hammer. Taking advantage of the momentum, he swung for purple bolts of lightning that transformed into sharp blades. He directly severed the heads of four elders in blood. The crow went completely mad. He was a dignified blood fiend trace. He was actually wielded by a little bay wielding a hammer. Completely defeated, the little one has to squat you into the terrifying pressure of the 88 skin crow personally summoning trembling and refining void energy, like Mount Tai pressing down. The houses in the entire town trembled. A massive blood-red sword formed in his hand. The chief roared sharply toward the tearing space. He swung the blade straight at Chu Feng's head. He locked onto all of Chu Feng's energy, leaving no way to escape. Just as Chu Feng was about to crouch down on Mushroom again, Hu Chu prepared to step back. The cold second senior brother Mu Shui wore that ugly crocodile leather apron. Carrying the bronze pig's blood sword on his back, he stepped out of the courtyard, without drawing his sword. Instead, he took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He placed his hands awkwardly on his hips, stepping forward with the left foot. Her face was as red as a ripe apple. Facing that world-shattering blade, he gritted his teeth and shouted 3 times. A strange force erupted from Mu Shui, indescribable and indescribable, without any dazzling light or shadow, nor the deafening roar. He saw the fierce Shui Wuya, along with the massive blood-red long blade in his hand, it was as if someone had knocked it back in an extremely comical manner, and with an irresistible stance, he was sent flying backward. Not only him, but the remaining Blood Fiend sect disciples in midair were all swept away by this invisible force, flying out of the town with a whoosh, flying over the mountain peaks. In the end, it turns into a cluster of tiny black dots on the horizon, disappearing from sight. He flew a full 10 li, Chu Feng carrying a hammer, standing where I am and looking at the empty sky. The corners of his mouth twitched uncontrollably. Junior sister, no matter how many times I watch your human cannon, I still find it ridiculous. Mu Shui covered her face and hurried back to the courtyard. It was too embarrassing. It was even more painful than killing him. The townspeople carefully opened the windows, looking at the cloudless sky. Everyone tacitly pretends nothing happened, continuing with what they should do. After all, I've lived next to this blacksmith shop for a long time. After living next to this blacksmith shop for a long time, everyone's nerves became unusually thick, not to mention a group of demonic cultivators flying away from the sky. Even if a deity falls down, they would only think the blacksmith shop was making some new invention again. Meanwhile, on a barren mountain 10 li away, Shui Wuya, caught by a big tree, was so angry he coughed up blood repeatedly. What kind of demonic art is this? He, a dignified Void Realm expert, hadn't even touched him. The opponent was inexplicably sent flying. If this gets out, among the Blood Fiends, the Face King Nag of the Blood Fiend sect obeyed the order to summon the Blood Demon Array, completely raised that small town to a scream, blood on the earth boundless, completely descending into madness. He bit his tongue and spat a mouthful of essence blood onto a black jade talisman. Those demonic cultivators who had fallen completely dazed also cut their wrists and blood gathered in midair. A blood-red magic array that blotted out the sky slowly took shape. In the blacksmith's yard, I was cracking sunflower seeds. Suddenly, I felt the light dim. Looked up. 10 miles away, a massive blood-red phantom condensed in midair. The phantom had 3 heads and 6 arms. His entire body exuded a despairing aura of death. That group of crows had even surpassed the void refinement stage and reached the threshold of Great City 7. Chu Feng and the evening snow god. Himu Shueshan was composed. They knew that monsters of this level were no longer a master they could handle. It was Chu Feng, the sect guardian god and demon of the Blood Fiend sect, gripping his hammer tightly, ready to fight to the death. I patted the sunflower seed shells on my hand. Somewhat impatiently, he stood up. The midday concession made him fall asleep well, hanging such an ugly thing in the sky, affecting the world's appearance. Understand? I walked over to the creation bronze needle, casually picking up a piece just heated red. The power of the Terra hoof, which hadn't even had time to strike, instantly weighed it in its hand. Then he aimed at the blood-red demon roaring at the sky 10 miles away, tossing it like throwing a dart. That red-hot horseshoe leaves my hand. In an instant, there was no earth-shattering sound. He just traced a parabola in the air, just like that. But in the eyes of Shui Wuya and the others, in that instant, it was as if the world had turned upside down, like that tiny horseshoe. In their eyes, sudden debauchery, carrying a terrifying power that even the heavenly Tao would retreat to half a mile. In an instant, it pierced through 10 miles of space, accompanied by a soft fut sound. The horseshoe struck precisely at the brow shape of the giant god demon, the so-called immortal and indestructible. It can withstand a blood-colored god weighing 7 kilograms. The blood-red god demon, immortal, unable to withstand 7 attacks from the city, didn't even scream. Like a balloon punctured by a needle. With a bang, blood erupted everywhere. Moreover, the danger of the horseshoe remains. It struck Shui Wuya's chest directly. The mighty Blood Fiend sect leader didn't even have a single intact corpse shed on his face. He was completely smashed to death by that horseshoe. Even the desolate fan behind him was wiped out by this blow. It turned into a huge deep pit. The remaining Blood Fiend sect disciples were all terrified. Collapsed to his knees with a thud. The air was filled with a pungent smell of blood and extreme fear. And in the blacksmith shop, I clapped my hands, turning to look at Chu Feng, his heart filled with sorrow and ease. Chu Feng stared blankly at the vanished desolate mountain 10 miles away, and finally couldn't hold back his tears. He knelt on the ground. She kowtowed to me 3 times and burst into loud sobs. The grievances of these 3 years, fear and hatred, turned into tears at that moment. Mu Shui stood to the side, her eyes reddening. He walked over and gently patted Chu Feng's back. Su Yao also ran over and handed Chu Feng a clean hand. Pa, second senior brother, don't cry. Yao Yao will roast sweet potatoes for you later. I watched. Eating sweet potatoes, I looked at these apprentices and felt a bit sentimental. Fighting and killing in the cultivation world is all too normal. But when I face troubled people, if anyone dares to lay a finger on me, even if I chase her all the way to the 9 nether underworld, do we have to get his ashes too? Alright, the big man is crying and sobbing. What kind of behavior is that? Hurry up and clean the yard. Later, he would have to reopen and forge the furnace. I waved my hand and lay back down in the rocking chair. That throw just now, though easy, but I noticed that the cultivation seal on the system panel had loosened quite a bit. It seems that protecting his apprentice and resolving the UK is also key to lifting restrictions. At dusk, the streets outside the town returned to calm again. The remaining disciples of the Blood Fiend sect had long since fled back to their lairs, stumbling and crawling away. I guess I'll never dare set foot in this small town again in my lifetime. Lang Qingqiu held a broom, quietly sweeping the fallen leaves in front of the door. The way he looked at me was no longer just respect, but rather treated him thoroughly as a deity. Just toss a piece of scrap iron and you can instantly kill the fake wife brain. With such strength, even at his peak in his previous life, he would have had to kneel and call himself an ancestor. Just as we were about to have dinner, suddenly, a chubby little boy wandered over the street corner. This chubby man was dressed in tattered clothes and had a face. The chubby guy, This chubby guy was dressed in tattered clothes. His face was covered in blackened soot, holding a pitch-black iron pot in his hands. As I walked, I sniffed the smell so much. Following the aroma, the fat man walked all the way to the entrance of our blacksmith shop. His big eyes stared fixedly at Su Yao, the bowl of braised pork in his hand. My mouth was almost dripping down my back of my feet. I hadn't paid much attention at first, but suddenly the system in my mind that was playing dead suddenly sounded a piercing alarm. Sounding detected a top-tier disciple who possessed the special constitution of the burning heaven creation body with the spear mark. Please make sure to secure it. Host. I almost choked on the tea I had just drunk, eyes wide open, looking at the fat guy at the door, who looked like a ball. Is the detector in the burning heaven creation system broken? That chubby guy saw that we were all looking at him, scratching his head a little shyly. He showed a simple, honest smile. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Pig Big Intestine. A single run, I fled the famine here. I'm really too hungry to walk. Can I have something to eat? I was hesitating about how to persuade him to become an apprentice. The beast skin scroll I had brought back from an ancient ruin suddenly flew out on its own. A dazzling golden light radiated from midair. The golden light transformed into countless old rune runes, encircling the pig intestines. The old rune actually spun around the black pot in the pig intestine's hand. The pig's large intestine startled, and his hand, Isung, dropped the black pot to the ground with a dull metallic thud. This pot of pots is on the road. Hitting casually has nothing to do with me. He was so frightened that he quickly backed away. I walked over, picking up that black pot. The moment it touches, a terrifying surge of heat almost burned my hand until it blistered. This is definitely not an ordinary iron wok. Combining the contents of that skinny skin scroll, I suddenly understood something. I turned my head and looked at the pig intestine, still swallowing, showing a kind expression comparable to Grandma Lang's. Large intestines. Oh, would you like to have braised pork every day? Chang nodded furiously without hesitation. I want to dream and think of me pointing at that black pot, as long as you become my disciple. This pan is for you to use as a cooking pot. You're in charge of the food at our blacksmith shop. What do you think? The pig intestine was stunned for a moment. The way they looked at me was like looking at a great philanthropist. With a thud, he knelt down. The master receives a bow from the disciple above. From today onward, my pig intestines are cooked for the chef for a lifetime. Congratulations to the host for successfully taking on a disciple. Cultivation is restricted by that range, significantly lifting rewards. Absolute defense advanced skill, everything bounces back. And unlocking the special pig intestine constitution, the burning heaven creation body grants a god-level cookware set. I'm satisfied with the system's prompt sound. Just as I was about to have Su Yao take her new apprentice to wash, face the sky, suddenly, a terrifying tearing sound rang out. We all look up at the same time. The once clear night sky was forcibly torn open by someone using great magical power, carving open a huge crack. Within the crack, dazzling lightning and winds capable of destroying the world flickered. A voice filled with endless authority and fury boldly came from deep within the fissure. Anyone who borrows and dares to destroy the eye of his avatar. Today, I will send down heavenly soldiers and generals, wiping you and this world from the void completely. That pressure was even stronger than before, with blood without pressure. I don't know how many times it was stronger. Even the air was frozen. Houses throughout the town began to collapse. The ground cracked. Huge cracks appeared. Zhu Fengwu Shui and Su Yao instantly became as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Even the freshly decayed pig intestines were so scared they hugged tightly. That piece of black cloth is outside the door in Longqingqiu. The law world, directly crushed by this pressure, was lying flat on the ground. This was the true superior realm. Lying motionless on the ground, this was the arrival of a true immortal from the upper realm. I sighed, looking at the countless immortal realm armies in the sky about to burst out of the rift. He casually tossed the glowing scroll of animal skin in his hand into the stove. When Chaiwa turned to look at my four eccentric disciples, looks like tonight's braised pork needs to be ordered. Heavenly soldiers descend from above. When the side dish opens that huge crack in the sky, like a greedy abyss, the void peak with its massive mouth raging wildly, placing the town's rooftop immortal 7-spirit armor into lightning at his finger. Like a waterfall slanting wildly, heavenly soldiers and generals treading on auspicious clouds, wearing dazzling immortal gold armor, stepping on auspicious clouds, filing out from the cracks. The display was practically like an emperor on a mortal inspection tour, and to exaggerate 10,000 times more than the top leader, the true immortal riding ahead. The Jade Chalene, breathing samadhi true fire, held a demon-subduing pestle entwined with the laws of the heavenly Tao. Looking down from above at us, our shabby blacksmith's pestle, the mortal tower had already worn his voice to death, like 10,000 bronze bells. At the same time, the knocking shook violently, shaking the entire small town's ground. The townspeople were still buying vegetables on the street. When I look up and see this apocalyptic scene in the sky, the elderly men and women didn't even want to put on their vegetable baskets, skillfully holding their heads, skillfully clutching his head and sneaking into the cellar. After all, living near the blacksmith shop, in these past few months, they had seen far more than the old monsters in the cultivation world who had lived for 1,000 years. The purple lightning all over Chu Feng had already raged to the extreme. He gripped the several hundred-pound hammer Gu Jie tightly with both hands. Turning pale from overexertion, Mu Shui said nothing. The blood of the heavens on his back splattered, buzzing with excitement and madness. It was as if he could smell an unparalleled delicacy. Su Yao stepped in front of me with her short legs. Su Ji's chubby little hand clenched into a fist, and the newly apprenticed pig intestine was already so frightened his legs went weak. Holding that black iron country, he sat down on the ground, trembling uncontrollably. Master, should we run? Zhu Diechang shouted with a sobbing voice. I slowly stood up from the rocking chair. He patted the sunflower seed guest off his clothes. Why are you running? They even delivered ingredients right to their doorstep. Large intestines. Oh, today is your first day of apprenticeship. This apprenticeship banquet is yours. The pig's large intestine widened. Those eyes that weren't that big to begin with. Her face is full of words. You're teasing me. Every day those people. But they're immortals. I walked over and slapped the fat and thin back of his head. To me, all those immortals are just flying and walking sounds. I just instructed. In my eyes, they're all flying ground trolling machines. The formula I just taught you is for me, a scholar, stewed pork intestines with that fiery chaline. Though afraid, but he was a natural cook. As soon as you hear the words of stewed meat, his deep-seated craving for ingredients actually overcame his fear. He took a deep breath, forcibly steadied her trembling legs. Clutching that black pot, he suddenly stood up. In his mind, the bloodline of the burning heaven creation body fully awakened at this moment. Looking at the bestowed chef outfit, a dark golden glow radiated from the pig's large intestine. According to the strange incantation I taught, left hand removes the pot, right hand slaps the bottom hard. Clutching the broken gong, he shouted loudly. Heat oil in the pan with a thunderous boom. The black pot, originally only the size of a wash basin, instantly swelled in the wind. In the blink of an eye, it had turned into a huge iron pot that covered the sky, several times larger than the crack in the sky. Burning in the iron pot, the 9 nether night fire inherent in the creation body. The fire wasn't red, but a strange dark purple, scorching even the void with a sizzling sound. The heavenly soldiers and generals in the sky were all dumbfounded. They have seen splashes with exotic treasures. I've never seen anyone hold a frying pan. When the magical treasure was the true immortal riding a chaline, he flew into a rage and refused to die, determined to die or die. The enraged outcasts of the lower realms were reduced to ashes. He swung the demon-subduing pestle fiercely, mobilizing tens of thousands of heavenly soldiers and generals. At the same time, they swore sworn immortal arts in all colors, like a torrential rain. It crashed down toward the blacksmith shop. Any random spell could shatter a divine transformation artifact into pieces. Just as Chu Feng and Mu Shui were about to make a move, I stopped them and let them watch over you. How does fourth junior brother cook? At this point, the pig intestines were fully in the cook's state. His eyes were bloodshot. Staring intently at the falling immortal arts from the sky, he swung his right arm fiercely. He shouted another line that even I felt ashamed of, and the fire took away that huge iron pot that blotted out the sky. Suddenly, an irresistible, terrifying suction force arose. Those world-destroying immortal arts never even reached the surface. Jaguar swallowed it all in one bite. Not only that, that suction even spread up to the sky. Those heavenly soldiers and generals who were just now lofty and aloof, like dumplings being dropped, she screamed as she was sucked into the rolling night fire. Even the majestic jade chaline in the iron pot wasn't spared, for hooves kicked wildly in the air. In the end, he still wailed and fell into the pot. The entire sky instantly cleared out more than half of the rich aroma of meat, mixed with pure. A celestial aura drifted out from the iron pot. Just one sniff makes one feel floating in the air. That last generation of true immortal eyes was about to pop out of its beads. He risked his life, activating his origin. Only then did Precedent barely manage to steady himself and avoid being sucked in. He looked at the elite army he had brought along, and it turned into a chaotic stew. Furious and trembling all over, he spat out a mouthful of golden blood. Monster, what kind of demonic technique are you? That roared angrily. He took out an ancient bronze mirror from his pocket, engraved with ancient totems. When the ancient mirror appeared, the laws of heaven and earth instantly froze. A beam of light that destroys everything, spraying from the mirror surface. The pig intestine at the center of the pig's brow was controlling the big iron pot, unable to dodge in time. That pillar of light carried the pressure to erase all souls. It was clear they were about to pierce through this fat man. I sighed. The new apprentice is still not very skilled at smashing and smashing, and even treat me, your master. I casually picked up a handful from the nearby stove, the footsteps of the broken iron tongs used to add coal. Seemingly casually stepping forward, he instantly transcended the constraints of space, directly blocking the pig's large intestine, that pillar of immortal light capable of destroying the entire lower realm. It crashed hard into me. The system's absolute defense advanced skill is all things. The system's advanced absolute defense skill. All things quietly rebound at this moment. No earth-shattering explosions, nor is there a flashy light and shadow shield. That beam of light seemed to collide with an invincible divine mirror. Not only did it not cause me even the slightest harm, instead, he turned back the same way at 10 times faster than Lisha. That true immortal didn't even have time to react, and the strongest killer move he sent out, a dull bang hits the head, and then banger borrows the needle fairy. He hadn't even had time to explain his final instructions. It exploded in midair into a golden mist of blood. Even his soul was completely erased. The bronze bone mirror in his hand clattered down, and I reacted quickly. Using the broken iron tongs in his hand, he firmly clamped it. He weighed the mirror in his hand. The material was just right. Perfect to use as a makeup mirror for Su Yao. I casually tossed the mirror to Su Yao behind me, turning to look. The pork intestines, still standing still, were cooked just right, so quickly put them down. Otherwise, if the meat gets tough later, it will get stuck in your teeth. Pig intestines. Only then did it seem to wake from a dream. Quickly chanting for Ju's large iron pot to shrink rapidly, landing steadily on the bronze needle in the center of the courtyard. The pot bubbles with golden bubbles. That batch of heavenly soldiers, generals, and jade chaline had been completely refined into the purest immortal path. The aroma of my soup was so strong it almost transformed into a real auspicious cloud, floating above the blacksmith shop. The mice in town smelled it. This one could probably turn into a demon on the spot. Chu Feng and Mu Shui swallowed nervously. Even the usually aloof Mu Shui couldn't help but lean a little closer. I took a few sets of bowls and chopsticks from the kitchen and distributed them to them. Everyone gathered around the bronze needle to eat the intestines while they were hot. The cooking skills were truly impeccable. It's much better than what you get at restaurants outside. The 5 of us, master and disciples, gathered around a large pot of fresh meat soup blocking the door, hiding behind the grass shed watching us eat the meat stewed by the last true immortal, terrified out of their wits. But that domineering aroma of meat kept wafting into his nose. He only secretly secretly took 2 breaths of the fragrance. The cultivation within his body, long stagnant, it actually broke through the barrier with a loud bang, having directly stepped from the foundation forging stage to the 7th golden core stage. Lin Hao covered her mouth in shock. Tears fall in a steady stream. He had cultivated for over 100 years in his previous life to reach this realm. Just smelling it today, the aroma of cooking was enough to make him grit his teeth. Gathering his courage, he walked to the entrance of the blacksmith shop. Gritting his teeth, he mustered up his courage and walked to the entrance of the blacksmith shop. With a thud, Senior Qingqiu knelt down to help you wash the dishes. As long as Qingqiu could stay by the senior side, becoming a rough maid, Qingqiu would die 10,000 times without hesitation. I bit into a piece of Chilean cartilage without lifting the bowl. You can break one and deduct 10 years of your life's fate, sending it into the backyard. Lin Qingqiu kowtowed repeatedly in excitement, as if granted a great pardon. Carefully walking into the courtyard, like a well-behaved little wife, standing by the well, waiting for that night. Spiritual energy surged in the blacksmith shop. Jufeng drank 3 big bowls of fresh soup. The commemorative thunder body advances directly to the 2nd level. The purple lightning all over his body turned dark gold. His cultivation soared to the peak of the golden core at Mu Shui, which was an exaggerated nirvana. The 9-turn sword bone absorbed the immortal Dao origin. That heavenly blood sword seemed to come alive. Get lost, completely merged with her soul. He was like a peerless divine weapon out of his body, his cultivation nearly reaching nascent soul chi. As for the pig's large intestines, this fat man eats while crying. He said he had never eaten anything so delicious in his life. Her burning heaven creation body was completely stabilized. Not only did his cultivation gain that fat on his body, but he also became harder, like iron, comparable to top-tier defensive treasures. Meanwhile, Su Yao, the little girl, finished her soup. He just let out a full burp, crawled into my arms, and fell asleep. I looked at these monstrous disciples. Feeling delighted, he opened the system panel and took a look. The cultivation seal was unlocked by another 10%. Now I feel that if I were willing to slap him, he could stitch up the crack in the sky. Late at night, when all was quiet, the disciples all returned to their rooms to stabilize and repair. After going to Lin Hao, after washing the dishes, she obediently squatted in the corner of the woodshed meditating. I lie on a rocking chair in the courtyard, gazing at the star-filled sky, feeling this rare tranquility. Suddenly, I felt something in my arms. Looking down, Su Yao, this little girl, had woken up at some point. She clenched her hand tightly. 2 years ago, I carved a small piece of wood for him from scrap materials. Tear stains still hang at the corners of my eyes. Her big eyes are full of unresolved emotions. What's wrong with sadness? Yao, did you just eat meat and get a stomachache from feeling stuffed? I quickly sat up and touched his forehead. Su Yao shook her head and buried her little face in my chest. Fan Ji spoke in a muffled voice. I just had a very, very long dream. There is a very, very sadness in the dream. Burning everywhere. The sky turned black. There are many bad people wielding weapons just like those in the sky today. They're chasing after my father and mother. The little girl's shoulders twitched repeatedly at her father and mother. To protect myself, they put me into a very cold bronze box, and they said to me, Yao wants to survive, to take our place and see a world without war. Then they pushed me into the black void. Fan Ji, I'm not an orphan at all. I'm a jinx who brings disaster to my parents, right? If it weren't for protecting me, they're so powerful, they definitely could have escaped. Hearing these words, my heart tightened sharply. He recalled the bronze coffin of creation he had seen in ancient ruins. It turned out that it was not an ancient tomb at all. Instead, it was a survival pod used to escape across the endless star domain. Su Yao was burdened with the destruction of an entire world and a deep blood feud. I sighed, taking this usually immense strength. At this moment, she was as fragile as a porcelain doll, tightly held in her arms. Nonsense, your parents risked their lives to keep you alive. It's the one that lets you happily eat meat and drink soup every day, not to let you drop golden beans here. I gently patted her back. There are no jinxes in this world, only hammers that aren't hard enough for forging. Remember, this blacksmith shop is your home. The sky is falling. If your family collapses, your brother Fan will hold it up. Even those bad people who ruined your hometown. Monster Palm brother Fan also stuffed them one by one into the iron pot of large intestines for you to stew. Su Yao lifted her tear-streaked little face and stared at me intently. Brother Fan, you're so kind. When Yao grows up, she will protect you. I was amused by the little adult's appearance and scratched his nose. All right. When you grow up, I'll protect you. I'm going back to sleep right now. Tomorrow, I still have to get up early to go to town to buy cabbage. Watching Su Yao run back into the house with her short legs, on the rocking chair. His gaze grew deeper. It seems the myriad worlds and heavens are even more chaotic than I imagined. Even a cute child like Su Yao had to suffer like this. Looks like I need to speed up the blacksmithing process. At the very least, each disciple needs to be crafted with top-tier divine gear. Early the next morning, I was still dreaming under the covers. Jufeng was anxiously pacing outside the door, anxiously pacing his master. Our blacksmith shop has broken the wind. Yawning as I pushed open the door. What did you blow on? Didn't we just stew the Kirin yesterday? Jufeng looked bitter and pointed to the empty courtyard. The coal had burned out, and junior brother Da Chang said there was no fire, so he couldn't cook. And the iron ore you bought yesterday? I smashed them to dust with a single hammer. Now we can't even find a piece of scrap metal. I slapped my thigh and finally remembered. Although that bronze cutting board carries the power of creation, but the consumption of materials is also extremely terrifying. Ordinary anti-iron turns to ash before even being struck. He had to buy some high-grade phosphate ore. But I touched the pocket of the empty pen. The blacksmith shop didn't have much savings to begin with. These past few months, I've been so busy fighting that I haven't sold any farming tools. Where would the money come from to buy high-grade phosphate ore? My eyes darted around. His gaze fell on the pile of junk piled in the corner of the yard. Those were all farming tools Chufeng had ruined with bronze needles in recent days. There are crooked hoes, and chipped kitchen knives, and the pitch-black firewood stick. With me clapping my hands, Chufeng Muzue, you two load these things onto the cart. Today we're going to the Qianbao Pavilion in the city. Chufeng looked fierce. Master, why are we going to Qianbao Pavilion? That was the largest cultivator trade within 100,000 li radius. Alright, the stuff inside is insanely expensive. If we poor guys go in, we'll probably be kicked out. I glared at him. Who says we're here to buy things? We're here to sell. Break all these top-grade magical treasures for me. Today, bring me all the top-grade magical treasures. Today, we're going to make a big profit off Mu Shui, looking at the notched kitchen knife in his hand, as if it had been gnawed by a dog. Master's lips twitched slightly. Although this is called a top-grade magical treasure, I nodded seriously. How can you look down on the kitchen knife your senior brother wields? Enough talk, hurry up and load the car. The four of us, along with the newly appointed bushy girl, Lung Qingqiu, pushed a battered wooden cart, marching grandly toward Qianqian City, hundreds of miles away. With our current pace, a few hundred li, only the time it takes to eat a meal. Qianqian City is an affiliated city of the Qianqian sect, bustling beyond compare. The streets were filled with cultivators flying on swords. Qianbao Pavilion is located at the very center of the city. It was a 9-tiered glass towering into the clouds. The pagoda is extraordinarily grand. We pushed a broken cart and had just reached the entrance of Qianbao Pavilion, but were stopped by two gatekeepers dressed in brocade clothes. Go, where do you come from? Country bumpkin begs for food and goes elsewhere. This place is reserved for idle people from the Qianbao Pavilion, forbidding them from entering the inner gate guards, looking at us with a face full of disdain, especially when you see the cart full of blackened iron lumps. He even covered up his bad breath and fiery temper. I was about to lash out at Master on the spot, telling me to smash it with a hammer. This broken tower, I'll stop Chufeng.